Haha, that worked out pretty well. Hey guys. Burglars! Yeah, finally got the original Borderlands soundtrack, so I'm gonna be listening to that tonight. Hello everybody. Let me turn this around here. Yay, tiny sketchbook. So, yes, I'm alive, oh my gosh. Okay, what do I got? So basically what I'm basically what I'm working on tonight is just it's gonna be a quick live stream. It's not gonna be longer than maybe like an hour or so. I'm not gonna pull that back, I'll break the book if I do that. Oh! I already popped one of the seams on it too. Damn. Is the stream jittery at all? Is it like flickering or anything like that? Let me know if it's not like getting a good quality or anything. What's up, Johnny? I have not beaten Dust Elysian Tale yet. I need to play that more. But it is such a beautiful game. Like, I'm just like, oh my god. It is amazing because it's like I'm sitting here playing through it, and I haven't even gotten that far into it. I've just beaten the one alien-looking dude. I don't remember his name. The first guy who's like you kill him with fire. Yeah, it's like I honestly don't remember his name. He looks like he's got like a big like elongated head. It looks like a big alien guy. He's one of the first bosses you fight. Yeah, the first major boss that you fight, because immediately after that you get a cutscene with some soldier guys, and I didn't watch the whole thing, so I don't know what's going on. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Like, I haven't gotten anywhere into the game yet, so I definitely need to play it more. But I haven't had the time to sit down and crank through it, so unfortunately. But I'll get it done. But let me tell you, playing that on a 3D TV is like, it's so beautiful. It's ridiculously beautiful. Yes. An expression test for Seth. Okay. All right, that'll be the first one. I'm gonna be taking suggestions for Seth facial expressions. Let's do some of those first. Hi, Kibby Cat. Kibby Cat. Alright, so you want a expression. Alright, let's see. Kibi cat. Kibi cat, yes, Kibi cat. Okay, let me make sure that I can actually... Because when I'm looking down and drawing, I don't always see on the camera what I'm pointing at, so let me know if I'm, like, drawing like this, where you can't see what I'm actually drawing. The dangers of having a first-person head cam when you're drawing, you know, it's like, you have to look down to draw, and so you can't really... Yeah. Trying to angle it right here. Okay, here we go. I never draw Seth looking like this, so this is going to be really interesting. Give him teeth. Yes. This probably actually won't be included in the style guide. Well, thank you. I'm also wearing a Samus shirt too. See, you can kind of see. Well, she's upside down. You can see the. Where is it? Where is it? There it is, right there. I can't point. There she is. There's Samus. Yeah. Yes, I removed my head and I'm turning around and I'm looking at myself. Oh my god! Yes. And you'll notice that Whitney is not present. She is gone. She left me. Not for good. She's visiting her family for the week. But it's yeah, it's always really hard for me to get motivated. Yeah, she took the puppy with her. It's really hard for me to get motivated and get work done. I have no idea what is wrong with Seth in this picture. Hold on a second. It's like they're nerves. Hey Charles. Gave him like 4 teeth. Why would a duck have teeth? I don't know. I have no idea. Who would be a good Samus? The good Samus. Charlize Theron? I think Charlize Theron would make a good Samus. Although she's not really an action star, but... I don't know. If they were to make a Metroid movie now, you know who they would cast Scarlett Johansson as Samus because she's like the newest young female action star thanks to the Avengers and everything else. Yeah, looks kind of hillbilly. It looks kind of hillbilly-ish. Yeah, there you go. So there you go. There's your face. All right. What's another one? Peanut butter stuck on the roof of his mouth. Okay, let's try that. Oh wait, one was suggested earlier, wasn't it? A what face? Alright, so peanut butter stuck to his mouth and a what face? Sort of like a general shock face. Alright, let's do that one. I'm not gonna include this one in the style guide because I never want him to actually look like that in the comic. Or in the animated series rather. Yeah, let's not do that. Okay. Okay. Hey, Charles! Charles Roberts. Okay. Meanwhile, for the last like 2 straight hours, Linus has been clawing at the back door wanting to go out there, but it's too hot out there. Is there anyone else looking forward to Borderlands 2? I hope it's not just me. I really gotta streamline his gruff on the top of his head here. His head's generally just pretty fuzzy, like it's not really a distinguished haircut at all. He doesn't really have a haircut, it's just kind of like fuzz on top of his head. General look of surprise. Let's go like this here. There you go. That's actually what I just drew, Johnny. There you go. Oh, TYW, yeah, the Howard Phillips, the Game Master. I have him. I'm watching him on my Facebook page. He's posting that comic, and it's like freaking hilarious. The unpublished Howard and Nestor comic. It's like the greatest thing. Alright. Okay, Seth being suave. Oh wait, no, I gotta do the peanut butter one. This is gonna be an interesting one. Oh wait, no, I'm not gonna do that. Oh, Slender Man? Wait. Oh, you know there's someone behind you, you don't want to look, but at the same time you know you're gonna, because what about something? So like a paranoid sort of like glancing behind him kind of thing. I could do that. Let me restart the peanut butter one. This one's gonna be tricky. It's gonna be hard because like, I imagine him like licking like the roof of his mouth, but it's gonna be tricky to do it with a beak. You wouldn't really see that. It's like. Tell you what, I'll come back to that one. Let's do Seth being suave. He's like, hey. Yeah, like he's like picking at the top of his mouth with his tongue or something, or maybe like his finger, like. But this is facial expressions. This isn't so much body language, so I'm trying to avoid including his hands in the sketch if I can. I want to try and just like pull it all off with just the face. See if I can do that. Hi-yo! Hey, Diablo! Diablo Dragon. Flynn, I have you on Xbox Live, right? Do I have your name? I'm pretty sure I do. God, Linus will not stop meowing today. What is up with him? Oh, this face looks like Seth is up to something. He's like, yes. Yep, I do. Well, if you're getting Borderlands 2, then we gotta play it sometime once it's out. You guys are gonna hate me. I'm getting the big, huge, the ultimate loot edition, the big treasure chest one that comes with the mock chests from the first game. That's gonna be my new art box. Oh, you're getting it on PC! Why would you get that on PC? I don't understand getting games on PC over console. I really don't. Alright. What was the other one? Oh yeah, looking behind like Paranoid. Alright, how about Paranoid and Horrified? I did not, Charles. Sort of the jiggly lines to show that his eyes are kind of trembling a little bit, so it's not solid. Also, the more extreme the expression, the smaller you make the pupils. So if they're like a moment of shock or surprise or like, you know, disgust or something, make the pupils smaller than you would for a normal picture. Yes. It's kind of weird because I'm realizing now that I usually don't draw Seth in any kind of extreme facial expressions. Yeah, he's usually pretty laid back about things, so it's like to draw him doing these like extreme facial expressions, it's like, I don't know, it's not I'm not saying it's like it's out of character for him, but it's unusual to see Seth kind of out of his element like this, so it's interesting. Yeah, when Peter was sick, he was definitely like freaked out by that a little bit. He's all freaked out, so his hair's gonna be standing up a little bit. He's like, the rare instance where I'm actually drawing a little bit more of it here. He's like, yeah! You can hear some like freaky noise over from the other side. I can imagine, Kibi. I will get your name right one of these days. So this one's just like a general face of disgust. This one's like, oh my god, what's that? This is the Slender Man face when he realizes that he's being chased by something. Oh yes, Suave Seth is over here. This is the, hey, baby. I noticed you have braces. I have braces too. Which would be a lie. Seth does not have braces. Alright. Do. Okay. Yeah, can you guys even see it from this far away? Like, do I have to get close up? Like, you can't even see what I'm drawing here. So there's the freaky one. And then the yeah. That's what I figured. I didn't know if it'd be any different quality, I guess. Well, if I up the quality, I know that it'll probably mess up the stream, but let's try it just to be silly. Haha. Da 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 da. Up the frame rate too. How's that? Is that better? Can you guys actually see it now? Or did it make any difference whatsoever? That's an appropriate song for that. Okay. No difference whatsoever. Alright, so got this. How about just a happy talking face? Because I haven't done one of those yet. Actually, his other eye is too far apart. I just realized I drew it. Ooh, animatics? Very cool. Talk about like storyboards, like the rough animations. I have this great idea for an animation that I want to do, just like a really short animation, but I don't know Flash, so I have no way of doing it. And I know it would be perfect as a Flash cartoon. Like, I'm not going to do it traditionally. It just wouldn't work right because of what I would want to do with it. So maybe I'll talk to the animation company and see if they want to tackle it. It'll just be a really quick thing, but it would be really, really entertaining, kind of a parody video. I've been so tired these past few days. It's been ridiculous. Anything the Guardians are truly afraid of? Huh. That is a good question. There are, I won't say there are, I say there is. There are, well, actually no, there are a few things that they have to look out for. Like whenever, well, for one thing, look at what Seth did when the ghost hunters came to the house. You know, they took precautions to make sure everyone stayed away. So, you know, obviously there's some reason why he would do that. So, you know. And then other than that, like, are there any, like, that's also another question that I get asked a lot, is are there, aside from the worms, are there any villains? Like, because right now you've just got the Guardians and you've got the kids, and it's kind of a slice of life comic, but aside from Chelsea being a bully, there really aren't any villains, like the bad Guardians. Like, any really dangerous, like, bad Guardians out there, or like the same kind of supernatural kind of thing. I won't answer that. I know it's kind of frustrating because I just threw that question out there and now I'm saying that I'm not. Yeah, Eddie has some scary moments. I will say that there will be something coming up because, well, think about what happened with Chelsea. I mean, her being completely put in her place. She kind of removed from her her role as a bully at this point. So, I mean, she probably will still be able to mess with Peter from time to time, but that role is going to have to be filled, you know? You can't have a comic without an antagonist. So, We'll see where it goes. That's all I will say. And there's a happy CF. But it's never going to be like some epic story where it's like good versus evil, because that's not what Peter and Company is about. You know, I've got a different comic for that. So it's never going to be that point where there's like some evil trying to take over the world or something. No, it's not that. It's not going to be like some grand epic battle going on, and you're never going to see like an army of guardians or something like that. That's completely out of place. You're not going to see Goku, Peter, or Seth like summoning a ball of light and destroying stuff. I don't know. You're never going to see anything like that in Peter and Company. That's not what... Unless it's like a parody sequence, yeah. Hey, Demifer. 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 Yes, a nightmare or a dream. That would also work. Alright, so we've got freaked out Slender Man Seth. Ugh. Creepy, or creeped out Seth. Super Saiyan Seth? No, I gotta do more expressions that are like more in line with his personality. Like I'd like to show the extremes, but it's let's see. Oh, the skeptical Seth. He hasn't had that one yet. Ugh. All right, Flynn. Fine. Wait. This isn't gonna work. Hold on a second. Alright. Fine. This is for Flynn, because Flynn keeps asking for it. Let's see if I can actually make this work now. I do have a couple, there are a couple storyboarders. I don't actually know the entire staff of the animation studio. That would be a question for the guy from SparkFlow, who was supposed to be tuning in tonight, but unfortunately he had to take his brother somewhere, so he actually isn't going to be here. Yeah, Christopher, he goes to Sparkflow Studios whenever he's in the chat room here. Yeah, the worms are mostly harmless. They're troublemakers. And Thwaites, right now, the only characters that I've shown on the bad influence side of things, the troublemakers, would be the worms. But there's bound to be others. I don't know if there's good worms, but there's slightly less evil, or I guess slightly less functionally evil worms like like Norton. This is so ridiculous. This doesn't even look like Seth anymore. Yeah, it's just Norton. It's you know, it's a little silly. Oh, they're... I need to have him, like, on fire, like... I think this is more Eddie's personality type. To have the random moment where he bursts into flames. Yeah, Seth exploded. Although now it looks like his head is huge, so I need to like really show that this is the top of his head here, and the rest of this is all the... Ooh, I could even like put little scorched tips on... That actually looks pretty cool. Huh. All of a sudden... I'm Mr. Heat Miser, I'm Mr. Sun. They call me... I'm Mr. 101. That's totally what he looks like. He looks like the freaking Heat Miser. Alright. I'll keep this, why not? Just for the goofiness of it. This will never happen in the actual comic, so enjoy this while it's going on. Ooh, I need to give him the eyebrow. Hey, Boo, what's up? What you doing? What? What are you doing? Beep. Beep, 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 beep. Alright. So there's your Super Saiyan Seth, or your Heat Miser Seth, I guess it would be. What do you think? Do you like this one? Do you like this picture? Boo, do you like this picture? What do you think of it? Hmm? Boo, what'd you think? You don't like it? Or do you like it? I can't tell. You're not... You're not enunciating. Oh, yeah? Oh, okay. Here, lick the page if you like it. Oh, good. He does like it. See? Nom 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 nom. Ah! Don't lick the page too hard. You might cut your tongue. Don't do that. Don't need a paper cut on your tongue. That would be bad. What are you doing? Alright, what just happened to my pencil? My pencil fell somewhere around here. Boo, what'd you do with my pencil? You stole it, I know. There it is. Okay. Get Boo to lick the camera here. Nom 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 nom. Blah 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 blah. Alright, you weirdo. There you go. Alright. Cloverfield, everybody run. A giant Boo knocking the head off the Statue of Liberty, that'd be awesome. That would be amazing. Alright. Sharpen my pencil again. I'm gonna draw a tree scenery scene here. Because one of the things that we're doing, one of the things you have to do, the process apparently of setting up an animated series is you need a style guide, which is used to maintain continuity between all the animators, because everybody draws stuff differently. So aside from having, like, you know, cleanup artists that keep everything consistent, there's also a style guide that you hand out to everybody that everybody looks at and says, okay, that's how you draw this. So one of the things I'm doing is submitting background examples of how I draw, like, trees and nature and buildings and vehicles and other stuff like that, fun stuff. So I'm taking samples from the comic itself and I'm scanning them in high res for reference for the studio, but I also want to draw a few new ones. So this is the fun part. This is let's say, how should I put this? When you're drawing backgrounds, most people get extremely bored with it. And I never understand why, because drawing environments and backgrounds and scenery, to me, it's as much fun as just drawing a character. Like, it's just fun. Like, especially nature. Like, that's why Peter is always in the woods, because as a kid, that's what I would do. I would pack up my backpack and jump on my bike, and in my backpack, I'd put, like, a sketchbook and stuff like that and pencils. And I would go out and find some secluded spot in the woods around the house and would just sit there and draw trees and stuff that I saw, and I liked doing that. It's how I've always, I don't know, it's weird. And then when I got to art school, I started doing full-on, like, charcoal and graphite renderings of different kinds of trees and nature, and just it's fascinating and it's fun because organic stuff, like nature and rocks and trees and birds and blah blah blah, that kind of stuff, you can totally BS it and it looks just fine. And I think that's what I like so much about it too, because architecture, if you draw it wrong, like if you draw it outside of how it's supposed to look, because everybody, like, one of the hardest things to draw is something that everybody knows how it looks like a video game, like a video game controller. You know, everybody knows exactly the button placement, how it looks, and if these are rotated the wrong way or the wrong size, the wrong scale, everybody knows that it looks wrong because everybody knows what it looks like. But with trees grow however they want it to grow. So you can just kind of, you know, let your mind go while you're drawing, and it totally works out fine once you work out how, you know, how the tree goes. Like, if I want to make like a tree that has like a gnarled base with 3 trees kind of grown into one, let's do that. So it's like, you start over here. This is going to be where the base of it is, and like one tree goes off this way, this one this way. Okay. Like, you pretty much just kind of develop a feel for how things look in nature, and once you get that, you can come up with stuff off the top of your head. And it's like, you know, Bob Ross said the same kind of stuff in every single episode of his show. He was like, you know, he's like, use your imagination, and this is the world you create. This is, you know, your happy world you create, and only you have ever seen it. That kind of deal. Because it's totally, that's just how it works. It's however your mind comes up with it, and it's not even muscle memory, because I've never drawn this tree before, so I'm just kind of making it up as I go. And that's the fun part of it, because it's just, I just like it. It's like every time you do it, you come up with something new. Okay, so like this, and this, like that, goes over here. And you also remember there's cardinal rules when it comes to drawing trees and plants in nature, is that everything always wants to grow towards the sun. And I mean, that's something you learn in elementary school. You know, when you plant something, like, they always have like the experiment in like 3rd grade science where you have a bean sprout that's growing up, and then they tell you to turn it 90 degrees, and it turns and grows up again towards the light, so you get like this right angle in the plant, and it's like really cool. That's how it works, but that is 95% of the time that's how it works. But always in nature there's going to be exceptions, and that's when you end up with the really gnarled and nasty looking trees that have the most personality. And so you can kind of exploit that a little bit, and you know, anything could be responsible for that. Maybe there was a moment of weakness, or there was like a storm and it blew one of the branches and it broke, but it didn't fall off, and so it stayed there and it regrew kind of like a cast around it, which trees will do. And so you get this break in it, and it kind of creates this other direction that it goes. So not all trees are straight up lollipop trees. If you do that, it's going to be boring. You've got to give as much attention to this is a good way to say it. Well, good way to put it. I finally found it. As much attention to detail with backgrounds as you would give to your characters. Give as much personality to your backgrounds as you would to your main characters. You have to approach it like that. You can't think to just put characters in an empty box in a background and have them floating in white space. Like one of I don't like singling out other artists, but in this case I will. No ill will towards him. Jay Naylor, everybody knows who he is, the guy who did that Better Days comic. I've only ever read Better Days. I never read the other one that he's doing. I kind of lost track of it. But his stuff always bugged me because there's no environments. He can go for pages and pages with just characters floating in empty white space. And it's like, he'll establish one shot. He'll establish like the first shot where there's like, you know, okay, they're in like a water park or some like a shopping mall, and then for the next 5 pages they're just floating around in white space, and I'm like, don't do that. You could get away with putting backgrounds in almost every single panel if you wanted to. Like, you could totally do that. Hey Dan, what's up, dude? I'm giving a lecture on, I'm trying to get people interested in drawing nature and backgrounds and trees and stuff, because it's something that I do just for fun. Oh, this is really cool too. Another interesting thing, especially when you're walking around, like everything that I've found, yeah, actually that's when I did all those tree studies, was in Savannah. One of the interesting things I found is most of the trees that I draw in Peter and Company are pretty much directly based on the exact kind of trees that you'd find around my old neighborhood. So admittedly, there's a lot of repetition in the kinds of trees, but it's not so much repetition as it is continuity, because you wouldn't go into a woods around someone's house, like in a neighborhood, and find 30 different species of exotic trees unless you unless you live like in a jungle somewhere. But no. So this was always fun because the trees around my neighborhood especially would end up with different features. Like some of them would have these gnarled like knots that would make them turn a different direction, and other ones would be covered in moss, and they would have like a big gaping hole in the side of it that looked like, you know, a raccoon lived in there or something. So it's just, you can add all these elements in, and you can just make it up as you go, like I said, and that's the fun of it, is just because once you know how these different elements work and how they combine together, you can break those rules, and you can come up with something new every single time, and it's always going to look right, because nature is like that. Nature is unpredictable, and so you can do that. You can come up with these really cool, like, strange creations of trees. Like, here's 3 trees growing together. And this also is the reason, or well, not the main reason, but one of the reasons why I made the castle in Chronicles of Adamar. The Adamar castle is a giant tree. Like, it literally is like 5 trees grown together, and it's the size of like like a 15-story building. So it's huge and gnarled, and the castle itself is a column in between the trees. So the trees actually wrap around the building, and then it kind of branches out, and so each of the individual branches is a guard post and everything. But it basically was, number one, it goes with the whole theme of the characters embracing nature and avoiding technology. But then also it was just an excuse for me to be able to draw a tree. Every time I draw the castle, I get to draw a tree, and it's just like, whee! So, yes. Yep, when you draw a background, yeah, don't put them on, that's a good point, DYW, don't put them on a tightrope, don't put them on a straight line, use a grid to place them around, and use, figure out how scaled they are, like in the background, and then, yeah, and don't put all your characters always in the same view. Like, there's different, like, if you think about it like a movie storyboard, like a movie animatic, you're gonna have different camera cuts. You're gonna have like mid shots, close-up shots, distant shots, and everything. That's kind of like the framing of it. Change it up, change up what you do with it. And I'm notoriously guilty of, but I'll admit, I am terribly guilty of using the medium shots for almost every panel on a page. I'll do that. I'll switch between close-ups and medium shots, and then occasionally I'll pull out and do like a distant shot where you can see the whole characters. But most of the time you'll see them from either the waist up or like the chest up, and it'll stay that way throughout the entire page. So that's a bad habit I have, and I know I need to work on that too. But do as I say, not as I do, kind of thing. But yes, putting texture into these tree trunks will help to show what direction they're leaning and help to give them some definition. And the texture that I do on here is kind of, it's weird because like the trees had these horizontal bands almost like tiger stripes, but they're really faded. And so you would have these kind of like these little dashes along the tree trunk. And I've found that when I'm doing this, I can actually just change the direction that they go, and you can change the direction that the tree is leaning in the perspective of the drawing here. So like this tree trunk is going away, so I'm making the lines go a certain, like, curving away from the viewer. This one's coming towards the viewer, so I'm curving them downwards. And so you can see the way that the tree actually bends just by doing the texture on the trunk. See, it's just like this. Now down here, where the roots spread out, This is also interesting because if you've ever gone online and you look up, because you'll never be able to see this just from viewing it from life. You'll be able to see where the tree branches, or where the roots rather, go into the ground. But the way that roots actually act when they're in the ground, it's almost terrifying to think about, because it's almost parasitic. Because when they spread, all you see is like right in here, like the main ground, and occasionally you'll see them like pop out of the ground like further away from the tree as it goes. But underneath, they can be as tall as the tree itself going down into the ground. So like if the tree is like, 40, 50 feet tall, underneath it, the roots go all the way down. Like they are like seriously like the thinnest and the longest roots can be equal height. And that's, it's the same thing like an iceberg. They say the tip of the iceberg, because you only see the top part, and then underneath you've got this monstrosity kind of hiding under the water. And the same thing is true for trees. And so you can, plan ahead. You can hide that roots don't always appear just around the base. They can stretch out and come out, because if a tree can't get down deeper into the ground, those roots are going to spread horizontally instead of vertically. And it needs as many roots as it can to stay alive, to get as much, food and nutrients out of the ground as it needs. So you can, if you have a tree that, maybe it's above a rock bed and it can't get any further down, so you can get away with drawing roots that are coming all the way out to, all the way out here. However you want it to look, you can make the tree do that. Yes. Okay, I'm going to stop lecturing and I'm going to get back to drawing. So this is a cool branch here. Have it come over this way, and maybe it goes up and spreads there. Yes, this is a trees tutorial. Actually, I haven't done one of these yet. I'm surprised I haven't done a trees tutorial yet, because this is like one of my favorite things to draw. Which I'm sure anybody who reads Peter and Company knows that trees are one of my favorite things to draw. I don't know why I've always loved trees. They're just fascinating. Like it's amazing when you find a tree that's completely unique, and you just try to figure out how it grew that way, because there's no way to know, what caused it to do this. And sometimes it just does it. Like trees that end up looking like I've seen ones that are like human hands, how they grow and like gnarled, and sometimes it goes down and then up, and it's like, yeah. I am the Lorax, I speak for the trees. An urban legend storyline? Like come up with an urban legend for their neighborhood, and like Peter goes out to explore and see if he can find it. Actually, I do have a story I can do for that. Okay. This, yeah. Thank you so much for asking this. Let me write this down. All right. Yes, the whack-a-beast. Alright, so when, during one of the summers when I was at, SCAD, or when I was at home from SCAD, yeah, let me tell the story. I would come back home to be with my parents for the summer, and my friend Chris Capaz, who was my best man at my wedding, he came over, and he still lives real close by, and he came over to spend a week just kind of chilling at the house here. And one night it was like 2 in the morning, and neither of us could sleep. We're sitting there playing games, and we're like, you know what? He was like, you want to go? Let's go outside. Let's go for a walk through the woods, because it was like it was just this random urge that we had to go on a walk through the woods at 2 in the morning when it was completely pitch black dark outside, and there were no lights in the woods around the house. So the path is about a mile and a half long. It's this paved black path that's just carved through the woods, where you see Peter walking all around through the comic. And so 2 in the morning. Well, this was before I met Whitney. This was like my probably sophomore or junior year at SCAD. So I was still an undergrad at this point. So we grabbed a flashlight and just headed out to the woods, and we were walking around, and halfway through the trip, like, we were just talking about anything, and about halfway through the woods, we realized, holy crap, we're walking through the woods at 2 in the morning. What are we doing? Like, it just dawned on us, and we were like, this was the stupidest idea, because we can't see anything. Like, you would flash the flashlight up, and you couldn't see the top of the trees, you couldn't see anything, it was so dark. So we're getting freaked out now, and we're still, like, you know, a mile and a half away from home, like, we're all the way around on the other side of the complex. And so just start picking up the pace, and our mind starts going crazy. We're like coming up with like monsters, like, well, what if this creature came out? Like, what if we find this other like creature? And somehow from the talk of ideas about what the monster would be that would be like coming out of the woods, it turned into something we called the Whack-A-Beast. And it was this freakish monstrosity that would swing from trees and had like, I don't know, I'd have to talk to him about it to figure out, to remember what it was, like all the different features that we had come up with this thing. But it was like every monster we could think of, we just slapped it onto this thing. And so when it finally came out, it was like this horrific, completely dysfunctional, like battling with itself kind of creature that would just be like, and it was altogether pointless, because every monster has a point to it, like it has a function that it does. But when you mix them all together, it just becomes a big blobbish mess of like everything. And so it was like, it had like vampire wings, and it had, you know, like the werewolf tendencies, so that if it was a full moon, it would become fuzzy, but there would be like no point to it, because it would, you know, I don't know, it had like eight legs and 3 sets of wings and blah blah blah, and it would swing from trees, but it couldn't touch the ground for some reason, I don't know why. And it was, yeah, so the Whack-A-Beast was like, you know, this weird sort of hybrid creation of all these different things. And it went on for about an hour of us just coming up with new features to throw onto it. It had like 3 individual jaw sets, like inside itself, like, you know how an alien from the Alien movies like opens up and the second jaw comes out? It had 3 of those, but they were all normal sized somehow, so try and imagine how that would fit together. Like, it wouldn't be able to talk or anything. It would just be like drooling on itself because it couldn't shut its own mouth. So yeah, it became like, it started off as scary, but then it became hilarious because it was so much stupid stuff thrown onto it that it just became this joke of a monster. Yeah. So, yeah, the Whack-A-Beast was very, very, very strange. So as the tree gets up higher, the branches split off. I'm just loosely drawing them in because you won't even see all these. So here's this, it's here, this. Alright, so here's this. That's what I got so far on the tree here. Oh, I've already got a hidden treat in every storyline. There's an einhorn hidden in every storyline. The hidden einhorns. And grass, the way that I draw grass, it's just little spiky things on the ground here. And you can use the grass to define the lower edge of where the roots come and other pieces like that. So yeah, you actually don't have to draw the lower edge of the root. You can actually just define it with grass. It's implied texture. It's the thing of implied texture. Do you guys know, well, yeah, let me ask you. Do you guys know implied texture? Do you know how to use that to define a form? Oh my gosh, my music ran out. Hold on a second. Use the grass brush on a... Let's see, let me put on game soundtracks with no DDR, because I'm not in the DDR kind of mood today. Okay. I'll just let that go. Alright. I'll give you guys a quick lesson in this too. It's especially helpful when you're drawing leaves, because there's, you know, you could drive yourself insane trying to do every single tiny detail, and this is where a lot of people become overwhelmed if they're trying to draw nature. If you're putting in details, and this is especially important in comics too, because this helps you define a form, even if you're, you know, not putting in every detail. Implied texture, like how I'm doing the grass here. The way that you do it is you do a piece of texture. You define the texture around the shape of the object, and then you put little pieces of the texture on the inside, and that creates the illusion of the texture repeating over the entire object, even if you didn't include it on there. So, in the case of the grass here, you see how the grass goes along the base of the root in every instance where the root is meeting the grass. That's where I put it. And then the grass continues in little patches out further here, but I don't have to draw every single individual blade of grass. I can get away with just doing this, and it's understandable, it's readable, that the grass continues all the way out into the foreground. That's implied texture. Oh, tilt my head up? Okay, here. Sorry. So you can see here how it's along the base, every location, every part where the root meets the grass. You can see how it meets it. Yeah, sorry about that. I can't see the screen when I'm looking downwards. So, as long as it's defining the shape of the area, then I can just put little scratch marks down further on the page, and you can see that it implies that the grass continues out this far. You don't have to draw every single blade of grass, but you can get the illusion of it that it continues out that far, and that's implied texture. That's how you can get away with that. Now, I did the same thing with the moss in here. There's a patch of moss on the side of the tree here that I put in, and you can see the same effect. I outlined it with the fuzziness of the moss here, and then just kind of continued the moss a little bit inward, and that's all you need. And there, you've got the whole texture. I didn't have to put in all the different details on it. Now, it's different for when you're doing the actual tree trunk. You have to draw the outline of that because it's a big solid item. But with the leaves, especially with the leaves, now this is where you're going to be using it the most, because doing the leaves, you can just do the same effect and have it be covering up like different sections of the leaves here. And also the catch with leaves as well is that you have to remember that it's not a flat layer. Like when you're doing, a lot of people when they draw trees and they draw like the leaves and stuff, they end up making it just a solid like flat thing. It's multi-layered. It's gonna be multi-layered. And so you're going to end up with drawing stuff in the background, and it's going to cover everything, because the trees, they don't grow up on a flat 2D plane. if you have them all, you know, especially with this one, 3 different trees, they go different directions, so different parts of it are going to be covered up by leaves, and you won't see the whole entirety of it, like, you know, covered up like this. See, because this one goes further away, so the leaves that are covering it will be smaller than the leaves that are covering up this one, which is closer. And also the leaves that are on the bottom, the lowermost leaves, are hanging down. And the leaves that are higher up will be pointing upwards. Because the weight of the leaves, actually, the way the trees work is that leaves that are towards the bottom of the tree typically are hanging lower and facing lower than the trees that are higher up, because they're not getting as much sunlight. So they have a tendency to just kind of be like lowered down by their own weight, whereas the higher branches on the top of the tree are getting all the sunlight, so they're the ones that are reaching up towards it. So there's a little bit of that light play in effect here as well. And I'm not going to be able to draw the top of the tree here because I drew it too big, so the top of the tree would be like up here or higher, depending on how tall I wanted to make the tree. But this is like one where you could imagine like Peter sitting in the chair, in the branch right here, like leg slung over the side, drawing or sleeping or something. Or Seth could be up here reading a book and Peter would be sleeping down here. Oh, that would actually, oh, that would be a really cool picture, actually. I might redraw this. I might redraw this a little bit bigger. Or wait. Forget redrawing it. I'm just going to draw it in right now. Okay. There was a tree just like this. Well, not just like this, but pretty similar to this in Savannah. And it was actually the hangman's tree, because it literally was the tree where they hung people back in like the 1800s. So, yeah, it was what a lot of people said was one of the more haunted squares in Savannah. And it was the only tree... Yeah, get this. The entirety of Savannah is covered in Spanish moss. Like, it's just dripping off of the trees. It's everywhere. And you can't go anywhere in Savannah without seeing it on the sidewalks and just dripping off buildings and everything. But the hangman's tree, where they hung people that were convicted of different crimes, is the only spot in Savannah where Spanish moss dies. That tree is completely clean of Spanish moss. Now don't tell me that's not creepy. We'd walk by this on the way, because of the CVS, and it's on the way to a couple of the main SCAD buildings, and we'd walk by it and just see this tree, and we'd be like, let's go around this way, because it really is freaky. Because there's also, it's not even that it's like standing alone in a square. There's trees all around it. And all those trees are covered in Spanish moss, but this one tree is completely clean. And it doesn't have anything, like, it even gets on, like, you can see, like, little pieces will end up on it from time to time, but it won't grow on it. And so it's, like, it's inexplicable. You can't, you can't come up with any logical explanation as to why that is. Yeah, it's something about that tree just doesn't like living things. It's like, alright, that's a little creepy. But there are so many freakish stories of Savannah. I lived there for 8 years, and walked away with a good sort of mini encyclopedia of really creepy stories, including one that I tried to prove myself and failed miserably. It was the lost catacombs of Forsyth Park. Which is definitely, hands down, the creepiest story that I had ever heard from the whole collection of ghost stories of Savannah. And it was the first one that I heard. It was during like a freshman orientation, not even freshman orientation, it was a meet the campus kind of thing for potential students. This was when I had just been accepted, I had just been accepted to SCAD, and so my parents and I went just to see the campus, and this was a couple months before I was supposed to start. And we took a ghost tour, and we were driving around, and one of the stories that the guy told us stuck with me all throughout my time at SCAD, and I never forgot it, and I kept trying to find out if it was true, and I had all these theories about it. Well, story goes that the area known as Forsyth Park in Savannah, it's where you see like there's a big fountain there, and it's the opening scene from Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, which takes place in Savannah. But it's one of the most popular areas of the city because it's huge, and it's right smack in the middle of everything. But they also say that it's the most haunted place in the entire city because, well, apparently, according to psychics or whatever, that's where the spirits tend to congregate, and all the different ghost stories, they get more and more rampant as you get closer to Forsyth Park. So for some reason, it's the epicenter of ghost stories, all center around this park in the middle of the city. And the story goes that under the park, back in like the 1800s or so, when the yellow fever was kicking the ass of the population of Savannah, people were dying left and right from this disease. And before they had a cure or treatment for it, all the people that died from it the doctors wanted to test on them to see if they could get a cure for it. But because of the sort of Puritan nature of the population and the lawmakers at the time, they restricted it. You weren't allowed to do operations on cadavers because it was like desecrating the dead. So the hospital system, in order to keep working on it, built this structure of underground tunnels that went beneath Forsyth Park, and it spread out like a labyrinth, and they had different compartments where they would have been performing illegal autopsies on the dead of the victims of the yellow fever. And in doing so, they also used it as a transportation for people who had died from the disease to get them from the hospital, which was located right on the edge of Forsyth Park, and get them to the beach where they could transport the dead bodies without exposing them to healthy people living on the surface. And so these tunnels had multiple purposes. And, after the yellow fever was defeated, the catacombs were basically sealed off, but they were never filled up. They were never destroyed. And supposedly there were two entrances for a long time. There were two ways to get in, one on either side of the park. There was one that was in the basement of the old hospital, which had a sealed door with a plaque above it that said "Honor the Dead," and the other one was an open, it almost looked like a sewer grate. That was one of the old secret entrances where people could go in and out. And it had not been sealed. It was just covered up with like a slab of concrete. And so if you moved it to the side, you could get down in there. And there were photos. You can look it up online. There are photos. People have gone down in there and taken pictures of everything. And there was like rats running around. It was like this decrepit sewer kind of thing. But it had no drainage because it was not designed to be a functional sewer. It was meant to be a transportation tunnel. And so when you go down in there, there was an actual entrance that had been sealed. And if you could break down that entrance, like there were stories people told, passed around, saying that people managed to get in there. And there were old pieces of equipment, rusted medical tools, and just like stained cloths everywhere. And it was all this like really creepy, like freaky stuff down there. And it's like, 20, 30 feet below, this perfectly happy park where people take their dogs to walk and they do like sports events and everything like that. And beneath it, there's like this catacomb of illegal death and autopsies and really freakish stuff from like 200 years ago. And it's the most freakish thing. And I was never able to find the building that was supposedly had the entrance in the basement. But I did find what they said. It was Forsyth Park. It's it's Forsythe. That's it. Forsyth Park. It's Forsyth Park in Savannah. And there's very few places online that talk about it, but there are places that document it, and they document a few different variations on the story from people who claim to have gone down there, and there's people who claim to have pictures and whatnot. But yeah, it was downright horrifying to think about, but I spent so much time planning to try and find a way in there. Like, I kept trying to organize, like, search parties to try and find ways to to get down in there. And found one building where I thought the entrance was. Yeah, I know, not without a sledgehammer. And a shotgun, because I've seen enough Resident Evil movies and Silent Hill games to know that I need a freaking weapon to go down in there. But, yes. Lost my train of thought. Oh, yes. I did finally find, thanks to a friend who actually lived in Savannah longer than that, like his stepbrother lived in Savannah for a good number of years before I got there. His apartment was right next to the spot where people claim to be able to get into. And so when I went to visit, he took us there, and it was this giant slab of concrete that had a hollow space underneath it where you could see that it went down. But since people kept breaking into it, they actually bolted it down in 8 different places around it and basically put a huge sign on there that says, "Do not go down here." And no explanation given. It just said, "You can't enter it." And it was completely sealed off. So we couldn't go down in there, but that was where it was. And so I was like, oh man, like I got there just a couple of years too late, because up until a few years before, that was movable. You could lift it up, and the guy said that oftentimes he would look out there and it would have been moved, because not only people going down there to explore, but also it was like a safe haven for hobos, because the initial tunnel going down into the catacombs was completely sealed off from the elements. Like you could go down there and just kind of, keep yourself dry if it was storming. Now the rain would get in and it would go down there and kind of fill up a little bit, but you could escape from most of the elements by going down in there. And so there was like trash everywhere, and like old wrappers of like Doritos and Cheetos and other stuff, and beer cans everywhere. But once you get to that door, there was an entrance to a larger area in the back where nobody ever went. So yes, that led me to believe that it really did exist, that there really was something down there. But I was never able to get down there in all the 8 years I was there. And that was, yeah, that was one of my biggest interests while in Savannah. The beach entrance? No clue. I never went down to the beach, because you can't access that area. It's down by the docks. It was down by it goes down under, like, the same direction as the Pirate House. There's a restaurant in Savannah called the Pirate House, which also has a secret tunnel underneath it that goes down towards the beach. That is actually very frequently traveled by the employees of the Pirate House, so I'm told. I mean, I've never actually worked at the Pirate House, so I don't know that, but supposedly the entrance in the bottom was a smuggling route for that house, because it was originally kind of like a safe haven for pirates, and that was like a smuggling tunnel, and so now they use that to like transport like trash and stuff like that out to the trash bins and stuff like that. So yeah, they would use those beach tunnels to move bodies out towards, like I said, out towards the ocean. But since you can't get there as a civilian, it's all blocked off for industry right now. Yeah, it's basically like the Goonies. Like, it's a total Goonies adventure, but like, if Goonies met Silent Hill, that's what it would be. Which, kind of think of it, Goonies meets Silent Hill, that would be the most amazing crossover. That would be terrifying. Yeah. Silent Hill that smelled like a paper mill. Smelled like Lucky Charms and hard salami. There you go. There's Seth reading a book and Peter sleeping on the ground underneath. Okay, so it goes like this. And also, one thing that you eventually just kind of develop a little bit of muscle memory for it. Trees are very rarely, unless it's a certain species of tree, trees very rarely are straight up and down. Usually they have a little bit of variation to the edges of it. So when I draw the trunks of the tree, specifically, I'll do like a little, like kind of like a uneven line, like a little jagged line, and I'll keep track of where the line goes for like the initial underside of it when I do the overside, so I can figure out the shape of it and the thickness of it. I'll keep an eye on it, and then I'll do little variations on it. But it's a jagged line. It's not straight. Like, it's never smooth. If you do a smooth tree, it may not look quite right. Like, that's the trick. And I know I just had this whole spiel where I was talking about how you can draw a tree however you want and it'll always look right, like it'll never look wrong. But in that case, it will look kind of off a little bit because trees aren't often smooth. Like, you can look at the bark of any tree and it's going to have a rough texture to it. You're not going to be able to just smoothly wipe your hand across it like paper. It's not going to have that smoothness. Now, there are trees that do, but they're also not trees that would grow like this. They would be straight and narrow. And those do exist. Those do exist. There are some very interesting trees in the world. And again, implied textures here. The background, the furthest away leaves on the underside here. Let me know if you guys can't see what I'm drawing. But the leaves that are furthest away get the fewest details. Because the closer something is to the camera, to the viewer, the more details you'll be able to make out. So that's also a way to convey depth when you're doing something. The stuff that's closest to the viewer, give that the most attention to detail. Because that would naturally be what you would be able to see clearer, the stuff that's closer to you. I'm hoping this is helping you guys get interested in drawing backgrounds, because this is one of my favorite things about comics, is drawing just nature and different elements and stuff like that. And I'm not even doing anything architectural. Like, I can do a whole other tutorial on drawing buildings and cars and props and structures and things like that are very important. The details that you don't think about. And one of the cool exercises that we did in Savannah, there's an entire course that you take. When you take the sequential studies at SCAD, there's an entire class, a 10-week course in backgrounds. And that's all you do. You don't do any characters, you don't do any like storytelling. It's all just backgrounds. That's all you do. And so one of the things that we did, which was extremely helpful, was we took a notebook, just a lined paper notebook, and we weren't told to draw, we were told to just write down everything we saw. And so when you're walking through the city, you would say, okay, well, there's a building. Well, it's not just a building. You know, you think to yourself, oh, I'm going to draw a building, so you draw like a square, you know, a little like square. These are tall buildings in Savannah, so you had like, you know, 5-floor apartment buildings that had different like windows along the sides and stuff like that. And so you would have like, you know, well, I'm not going to draw it on there actually. I can draw it real quick on here. So you'd have like, you know, a building that was, you know, here on like a, you know, street corner or whatever. So you'd have, okay, well, there's a sidewalk, and here's the building. Kind of crude. I'm just drawing it like real quick doodle. But it's like, okay, so there's your box, okay? And you had maybe, you know, 4 sets of windows. After you rule out where they would be, I'm just throwing down lines here. Kind of rough here. So there's that, and maybe like the entrance. Actually, get rid of these windows down here. There's, you know, a door on the side. But then he would force us to look at the details that you wouldn't normally see. Like, you can't even see this. I just realized in the camera. Hold on, let me put a little more details on here. He would force us to look at details that we wouldn't normally catch. Like, for one thing, the rooftop. The rooftop on these buildings was just like a kind of like a concrete overhang, and it was just very slightly there, barely noticeable. What the hell is this? Okay, Loco Roco, enough of you. Ignore that. You guys didn't hear that. And so like this, okay, there's like the little concrete rooftop, whatever. But then he's like, well, what do you see on the roof? Well, normally you wouldn't think what goes on a rooftop. But actually there was a few air conditioning vents here, on top here, that would go on top, like to be for like the interior of the building. On this side over here, there might be a satellite dish on the side there, hanging off one direction. On top here, there could be an actual entryway that you could barely see from the street, from where you were standing. It could be like an entrance, like there's a stairwell that goes up to the rooftop that you can barely make out from the street, but you can still see it, so it goes in the picture. And that goes there. And it says, what else do you look? Well, normally you wouldn't notice all the little extravagant details in the page and stuff. But, let's say you look at the side of the building. What's on the side of the building? Well, there's no windows, so it's very plain. It's never plain. What is... Look harder. Okay, well, there's actually a drainage pipe that comes down the side of the building and down to the ground. Okay, that's interesting. So that's a new little detail. Now, what's at the bottom of that drainage pipe? Well, it goes into a little indented area, and there's actually a sewer grate right here where everything drains into. Cool, that's interesting. You wouldn't notice that there. But then along the side, you also notice that there's a few boxes, especially along the bottom. There's little metal boxes. They're actually much smaller than this. I'm drawing them far too big. Little metal boxes, which you realize are the power readers and the water readers and the different meters that get read for that building. So you have to remember to put those in, because those are on every building. Every single building has these things. And then if you look closer, there's actual patches where the brick was showing in greater detail than other areas, because these are aged buildings. So they're not going to be clean buildings. They're going to be kind of like patchy a little bit with, you know, the age showing. So now you go to the front of the building. Well, what's on the front? And it's like, well, you've got the windows, and, you know, you could do normal windows on there. Or you can pay more attention, and each window has a slight awning added onto it. And on the interior of the windows, you can make out the interior decorations on each window here. And the more details you put into it, the more details that you put into it, the more character it has. It takes on a life of its own, and it becomes more interesting. Because life is not clean. Environments that you walk around in the normal, the normal life, in real life, you're not going to see these perfectly clean things where there's like no details or anything like that. Obviously, you're going to have crazy amounts of details. Also, the important thing to remember, especially if it's a heavy populated area, you're going to have trash. You're going to have junk, and no one ever thinks to put trash. There's going to be litter, there's going to be junk kind of strewn around, little pieces of crap here. There's going to be the trash bins to the side over here, kind of laid out, with the top hanging off the side, and it's all junky and dripping with slime and gunk and stuff. And over here you could have the huge dumpster to the side over here with the top propped open and just piles of junk inside there. And all of a sudden the building doesn't look so clean anymore. Now it looks kind of filthy and run down and kind of shady looking. Which is good. That's what you want. You want it to have character. Yep, and hobos. This is just kind of throwing something together, but this is a general idea. Hobo wrestling! Oh, I missed this game. Cho Rocket. So more details thrown in here. Again, in the foreground, these leaves over here are going to be more prominent, more detailed. And when I draw leaves, I don't draw like the exact shape of the leaf. I just kind of put it in as a little like a squishy looking texture almost. And then I overlap the different hanging branches here. See, like this. There's that. And then I can do the same thing over here. If I do a bush, it would be more like the prickly branches, but the same thing. I just do the implied texture to define the shape of it. And then I can put in the grass where that would be, and then it kind of comes down like this, and behind it there could be a slightly bigger one with little tufts of like flowers, maybe if there's like a vine or something growing on it. And so there's that. And make sure every branch disappears into the tree. If it's a healthy tree, the branches, you won't see the end of them. They'll be covered by leaves. So that's how you define the end of the branch, is by drawing in leaves where they end. So you just draw in the texture of the leaf where that goes, and then there you go. So that's it. That's drawing a tree. Drawing a nature setting. Alright. I could probably put a little bit more details into this branch over here. Also, it helps to put a couple straight lines up the side of the trunks here. Kind of follow itself around. This helps to also kind of show the direction that the trunk goes and give it a little bit more texture. Now this is also far too much detail for the animated series, but this is just to show how I draw trees, because what this is going to go towards is defining what the backgrounds look like in the cartoon. And if I can get the backgrounds looking something close to this with the animated characters interacting over top of it, I really think that would be a unique look for the animated series, because not very often do you see like these really detailed backgrounds. Like, they don't even have to move. They can just be stationary backgrounds, like the trees and everything. Like, it used to be the backgrounds were hand painted and then the cell animation was done over top of that. But nowadays with Flash, you'll notice everything looks the same, and you no longer have these intricate detailed backgrounds with the cartoons acting over top of that. I'd like to try and do that if I can. I need to talk to the animation studio, to Christopher, to see if that's feasible. But if that's possible, I mean, I think that would be a really, like, one of the unique features of the animated series. If the nature and everything, if the environments and everything looked more detailed, more hand painted. It wouldn't be hand painted. We could do it all digitally, but something similar to that, you know. I mean, you know what I'm getting at. You know what I mean. Anywho. Yes. All right. So, yes. Yeah. Dan, you missed it. The Super Saiyan Seth. Someone requested earlier. If you tilt it, it looks even more epic. And this looks like he's just got a huge head. Oh yeah! That's actually, where's... Move your butt, boo! Move your butt! This was a trick. Hold on a second. This was a trick. See if I can remember how to do this. Alright, so you go like this, and you fold the bill so it's got like this kind of on either side of it like this. Oh, crap, it didn't do it right. Hold on. It's really, really hard to get the right angle on it. Make sure I got it. Okay, good, I got it. Okay, so this goes here. And then... What is this? Oh, have you guys seen the happy sad? Oh, if you've already seen it, then you already know what I'm doing, yeah. Okay, never mind. That's the happy sad money. You fold it down the middle and the two sides, and then you just tilt it and it goes happy sad, happy sad. It's really goofy. Anyways, you've already seen it. Oh, you haven't seen? Okay, fine. If you haven't seen it, then I'll try to do it. It's tricky. I don't remember exactly where you're supposed to fold it, but it's like you take it and you've got to fold it first straight down the middle there, and then really, really fine folding on either side. It's really kind of tricky. Yeah, over each eye and on the edges of each mouth. This might not be the best bill to try this with, but it might work. So once you've folded it and you have a little groove in the middle, and it goes like this. It goes, see, he's happy, now he's sad. Now he's happy, now he's sad. He's like, oh, now he's sad, now he's happy, now he's sad. He's like, oh. So yeah, that's all it is. It's really stupid. Yeah. It's ridiculously stupid. But that's how you do it. And yeah, all these sketches are going to get put online. Even the Super Saiyan Seth, I'll put that online too. I'll scan all these in and put them on the Tumblr blog. So these will go up the... They took her derbs! Yeah. I don't know who would take the Guardians' jobs, but there you go. Sure. Go ahead, you can use the Super Saiyan Seth for an avatar, go right ahead. I'll even crop it as a square, and I'll post that up there. Yes. Cool. Okay. So that's what I'll do. So I'm going to do another session of this, probably on Saturday. I'm going to call it a night for now. Because, like I said, I don't have the energy to draw too much tonight. When Whitney's not here, it's hard for me to get motivated to do work, unfortunately. But yes. So, thank you guys for stopping by tonight. good fun. A little tired, though. So, Whitney's going to be back on Sunday. I probably won't be doing a stream at first. It'll probably be, well, I'll do one probably on Saturday before she gets back. And then after that, I don't know. We'll see. But in the meantime, thanks for watching, guys. And, yeah. Just watch the journals and stuff to catch it on Saturday. And, yeah, have a good night. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.